With the Trump administration accused of ignoring a federal judge's order, many constitutional law experts in New Mexico are worried that the administration is stretching the bounds of its power. A revision to the state's red flag gun law is on its way to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's desk. A resolution passed the Albuquerque City Council unanimously that aims to hold the city's landlords accountable for maintaining a safe and habitable rental property. A second attorney accused of being implicated in the DWI Enterprise case has denied any involvement. And a New Mexico judge has temporarily issued a restraining order preventing the release of certain records involving the death of Gene Hackman and his wife. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's Tuesday, March 18th, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
The Trump administration allegedly ignored a federal judge's order to delay the deportation of hundreds of immigrants to El Salvador, sparking concern among constitutional law experts. The deportees accused of being Venezuelan gang members were removed under the rarely used Alien Enemies Act, a wartime law last invoked for the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. Despite Judge James Brosberg's directive to return 2 flights carrying the deportees, the plane still landed in El Salvador. The administration defended its actions, with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stating at Monday's press briefing,
"All of the planes that were subject to the written order, the judge's written order, took off before the order was entered in the courtroom on Saturday, and the administration will, of course, be happily answering all of those questions that the judge poses in court later today."
However, the incident fits into a broader pattern of the administration testing the limits of executive power, raising alarms about constitutional checks and balances. Legal scholars warn that disregarding judicial authority threatens the separation of powers. Huerga Bowman, a law professor at the University of New Mexico, argues that such actions go against the Founding Fathers' intent.
If you're a textualist and you believe in the founders' vision of the country and you believe in the text of the Constitution, you would be appalled at this situation because this is not what the Founding Fathers had in mind. The Founding Fathers wanted presidents and the Congress and the courts to each respect their jurisdiction.
Similarly, a retired constitutional law professor, Peter Kirst, cautioned that allowing a president to defy laws sets a dangerous precedent regardless of political affiliation.
If a president can defy the law in pursuit of policies you like, then the next president can defy the law in pursuit of policies you hate. And since no president or party stays forever, we're all better off if presidents have to obey the law.
Historically, even embattled presidents like Richard Nixon complied with court rulings. While Bowman does not yet see a constitutional crisis, she believes the country is heading in that direction. Experts suggest that Congress could respond by passing clearer laws or more dramatically through impeachment, though that remains unlikely given Republican majorities. Ultimately, public pressure and economic concerns may be the strongest forces in holding the administration accountable. As Bowman notes, the rule of law is crucial for business confidence, meaning potential economic fallout could force a shift in policy. New Mexico Senate has approved a bill expanding the state's red flag gun law, sending it to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, who is expected to sign it into law. The legislation, House Bill 12, passed in a 23-15 party line vote and marks the first major revision to the 2020 Extreme Risk Firearm Protection Order Act. Key changes include allowing law enforcement officers to directly petition courts to temporarily seize firearms from individuals deemed dangerous, rather than waiting for family members or employers to initiate the process. The bill also mandates the immediate surrender of firearms upon a judge's order, eliminating the current 48-hour window. Supporters argue the changes will make the law more effective in preventing gun-related deaths. Senator Katie Duhigg, a Democrat from Albuquerque, emphasized that firearm access during a crisis increases risk of violence and suicide. However, Republican lawmakers expressed concerns about potential misuse by law enforcement and improper handling of seized firearms. Since its enactment, the law law has been used with increasing frequency, with firearm petitions rising from 3 in 2021 to 96 in 2023, with over half being in Bernalillo County. This year alone, 17 petitions have been granted as well. If signed, the expanded law would take effect on June 20th, reinforcing New Mexico's position as one of 21 states with a red flag law. The Albuquerque City Council unanimously passed a resolution Monday aimed at holding landlords accountable for maintaining safe and habitable rental properties.
With this resolution, and one thing to note is a resolution is different from a bill. This basically indicates the council's support and, again, kind of request and direction of the administration.
My colleague Noah Kalabach is a reporter for the Albuquerque Journal.
But Tammy Feeblecorn, the resolution sponsor, had a bill pass at the end of last year that many of our readers will remember, and all of our landlord readers will remember probably, that instructs landlords to provide all tenants cooling, whether that be an AC unit, a swamp cooler. And so it's part of this effort, or this pattern of policy that's come from the Keller administration, but also on the city council and from Councilor Feeblecorn, that really looks to expand the rights of renters.
Sponsored by Councilor Tammy Feeblecorn and backed by Mayor Tim Keller, the measure requires landlords to provide heating, cooling, and timely repairs for structural, electrical, plumbing, and pest issues. If landlords fail to act, tenants would have the right to withhold rent. Mayor Keller emphasized that renters' rights are human rights, stating that enforcing basic housing standards is essential for justice. The resolution also calls for at least one dedicated code enforcement staffer to assist tenants, though concerns were raised about existing staff shortages in the state's 50-person enforcement department. Despite questions about enforcement capacity, Council President Brooke Brisson and other councilors supported the measure. Councilor Dan Champagne, a rental property owner, acknowledged that some landlords fail to meet standards, harming the reputation of responsible property owners. The measure comes in response to over 5,000 tenant complaints made to the city's 311 line in just 3 months. It builds on previous legislation requiring landlords to provide cooling, which passed in December. While enforcement remains a challenge, city leaders hope the resolution will help protect Albuquerque's renters, who make up 34% of the population. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. In other headlines from the newsroom, Albuquerque attorney Rudolph B. Chavez has denied any involvement in a long-running bribery scheme in which law enforcement officers allegedly took payments from a law firm to ensure DWI suspects avoided conviction. Chavez, who has not been charged, responded to a state Supreme Court petition seeking his suspension from practicing law due to his alleged ties to the federal racketeering scheme. The FBI investigation had led to guilty pleas from 3 former APD officers, a former Bernalillo County deputy, and the scheme's alleged ringleaders, criminal defense attorney Thomas Clear III and investigator Ricardo Rick Mendez. Clear, who pleaded guilty to multiple charges, did not name any other attorneys in his plea agreement. The scheme, dubbed the quote DWI Enterprise, involved officers deliberately failing to attend hearings or provide pretrial evidence, leading to case dismissals. Arrested individuals were directed to Mendez, who charged high fees for ensuring their cases would be thrown out. The disciplinary petition against Chavez points to statements from 2 defendants suggesting another attorney was involved. Chavez, however, argues that there is no evidence linking him to the scheme. He acknowledges representing a client tied to the case, but said his involvement was unrelated to any misconduct. He also stated that Clear has denied his participation. Chavez's client's DWI charge was dismissed in January 2024, but as part of a broader dismissal of over 250 cases due to the investigation. The Supreme Court has yet to decide on any disciplinary actions against Chavez. And a New Mexico judge has issued a temporary restraining order preventing the release of certain records, including photographs and video footage of actor Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Aracara, and their deceased dog. The order, issued by State District Judge Matthew Wilson, responds to a request from Julia Peters, a representative of the couple's estate, who argued that the release would violate their privacy and hinder the family's right to grieve. Hackman, 95, died of complications of a severe heart disease and Alzheimer's, while Aracara, 65, succumbed to hantavirus. Their Kelpie mix, Xena, likely died from starvation and dehydration. New Mexico law restricts public records to sensitive images of deceased individuals, but most law enforcement death investigations and autopsy reports reports remain public. A hearing on the matter is set for March 31st at the Santa Fe County Courthouse. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect patchy blowing dust after 1 p.m., mostly sunny with a high near 63. As for this evening, patchy blowing dust is expected again before 9 p.m., mostly clear with a low around 29. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. I'm Gino Gutierrez. The leading news will be back tomorrow.